All right. Helping our correctional officers better deal with our inmate population and prepare them to go out into the public is a big portion of this. Right now, we're so spread out and don't communicate very well with each other that we can't effectively do some of our jobs that we should be able to do very well. An example of that is our community corrections is down the street from our jail. And instead of having that interaction where they can meet and they can communicate freely, you're running into those borders, those barriers that occur because you can't talk, okay? Making that difference and bringing everybody together is going to make a substantial difference for our community, the inmates, and our law enforcement side. We no longer have an area with tasers and electronics that fills with water.
Thank you.
We'll give it a try.
I'll just start yelling. So Kurt was actually kind enough to give me a really good overview of what that building project is. One of the things that we need to understand is back in 2007, a similar type idea of a new building was brought to the county. Back then it was going to cost roughly $57 million. So now just a short time later, we're still dealing with the same issues that we were dealing with back in 2007. The flooding, the unkept spaces. We got, I think, 7 or 8 different evidence storage areas, nothing cohesive. So if we would have fixed it back then, it cost $57 million. Now we're looking at $96 million. So it's one of those things we can't keep kicking the can down the road. These things need to happen. We need to have better facilities for not only the deputies, but also for the inmates. One of the great things that I think that they're doing at the Sheriff's Office in the planning of this building is understanding what to do with the inmates. There's so many different levels now. The current jail, you're either in a cell or you're in a dorm room. Now there's going to be a bunch of different areas, so being able to deal with the behavioral challenges that present ourselves when you deal with 500 inmates is great. So being able to have them have a better living area. I have a couple friends that work for DOC, and I asked them this question. I said, is being sentenced to prison this punishment, or is what they do and how they live in prison their punishment? And they're firm believers that just being sentenced to prison is their punishment. So having a good place, and I believe the same thing, being sentenced to jail is your punishment. Living in a crappy cell that has doesn't even have a shower attached to it, that's not a punishment. We need to make sure that the inmates are living a quality life while they're in jail. So, and again, helping them recover and do the things that we can do to help them set up for success when they leave. Again, lower that recidivism rate, which then helps the rest of the county.
Thank you.
I'll just talk this loud too. I'm going to go kind of with Kurt and Troy. I agree with what they're saying. I've been out of the mix since July of 2019. I retired as a deputy in there. The new jail program was just starting. I've had a lot of citizens come to me and complaining about the $96 million budget for the new jail. What do we need a new jail for? I think the biggest failure with this whole project was the fact that most of the citizens of the county had no idea it was coming.
That's right.
And now all of a sudden they're going, what are we doing?
That's right.
You know, why is this? And I guess for me, that was very hard for me to take too. I mean, and like I said, I'm not saying this wasn't important. It's very important because we need to be able to do our job efficiently. We need to be able to do the things to do. But again, I come back to this communication issue. I think it's been a problem with law enforcement for a lot of years. I think the communication with the citizens of the county and across the board, across the United States, I think communication is one of the biggest issues that we need to address right now. Because for us to do our job, we need the community. We can't do our job efficiently without the community. So I guess that's the only thing I have to say about it. I'm not going to disagree that it's not necessary and it's not needed. But again, we have to be more open and be discussing things more with people, getting that input from the community as well.
All right, for our final question, this is concerning the Rock County Sheriff Department budget. So based on available Rock County budget data, over the past 5 years, 2017 to 2022, the Rock County Sheriff's budget has increased about 3.5% per year to $27.6 million in 2022. This is approximately 37% of the annual $73.7 million Rock County budget, which has increased itself about 2.6% over the same 5-year time frame. So here's the question, and this will start with Troy. What is your perspective on the Rock County Sheriff budget as it stands today, and what would you propose? And would you propose any changes to the budget in the next budget cycle in order to achieve your objectives?
I think just like everything else, everything's going up. It is more expensive to run a squad car. It's more expensive to buy a squad car. It's more expensive to buy a taser. Ammunition has shot up. I've tried to order ammunition for Black Hawk Tech, and they won't even give me a price anymore because the cost is going up. So I understand that things are getting more expensive, and the same things for the sheriff's office. Now, when it comes to bigger things like personnel budgets, which is a large portion of that budget, I wouldn't expect to increase anything like that. I think we have to get more creative staffing with what we're doing. When I run the sheriff, or when I at Black Hawk Tech, I run the budget for the staffing there, and I was able to lower the cost of running an academy by 25% simply by overseeing the staffing and being more creative with what we're doing and how we're staffing the academy. So I think that's something that we can look at, is understanding where do we need efficiencies and where do we have too much. So that is one of the big things I would do, is look at the staff of the sheriff's office, and I'd not necessarily take any staff away, but how can we manipulate the staffing to make sure that we're cutting down on overtime and we're making sure that we're still giving the services that we need to the community. So again, just looking at those things and understanding that everything's getting more expensive, and we need to make sure that we're being fiscally responsible by understanding the budget and preparing it in the way, and making sure that we're communicating everything that we need to the county board so they understand why we're asking for what we're asking for, including the citizens.
Thank you.
All right, so the budget, that's one thing I have not spent a lot of time doing that. So for me, I'm not going to sit here and tell you anything other than I'm going to sit down. I would rely on the people that have got experience doing that. I would take into advisement what they suggest. I would obviously try to give my own ideas to what I think are important or what we could do. Again, we all know right now inflation's going crazy and expenses are going up. That's something that we're going to probably deal with from now until the end of time, unfortunately. And again, I'll step back to the communication issue. I think that's one of the most important things. I think people understand, most of the people sitting in this room understand that things cost money and that we have to, we're paying for those services, and we got to do that. But to just throw things out and spend money without talking to people and explaining why we're doing what we're doing, I myself sometimes wonder, would we be better off to have a little more staff so we can provide more services? But again, that's where you got to talk to the community and get their input. What do they want? And then we have to be able to explain to them why we can't do it or why we could.
Thank you.
For the budget for the sheriff's office, that's one of the things I oversee. With it, as was pointed out, a big portion of that is personnel. We can't change a lot of that. It's an issue, especially as inflation goes up, prices go up, wages are going to have to go up a little bit to try to match it. So it does create those issues. When it comes to the equipment that we get, utilizing the bid purchases and going through and trying to find the best deal every time that you can is a huge undertaking and has to be followed through every time that we do it. It's really something we're looking at with the new building project. As part of that new building project also, with bringing people back together, we should be able to reallocate where our staffing lines up and hopefully address some of the inefficiencies and some of the overwork areas that have too many people, and we can realign them and cut down on some of the problems that we have and some of the overtime that gets created. Through reworking some of these and readdressing some of the budgetary issues we have, we can certainly cut down on some of the stuff that doesn't need to be done. But again, the staffing issue is the biggest portion of that. For us, when we purchase things, we utilize a capital improvement plan. We go through and we figure out, plan out as far in advance as we can. We try to go through and purchase things in an orderly manner without getting too cumbersome and too expensive on the budget, and spread things out so it's not all at one time. With that, squads, as being an example, are very difficult to get in right now. Fortunately, we were able to lower the mileages that we have on our current squads and keep them so they're under 100,000 miles, so when we have issues with them, they're covered under warranties. Previously, we weren't doing that, and it was costing us $3,000 or $4,000 every time an engine had issues or something went wrong. And we decided we needed to fix that, and that's something I've worked on.
Thank you. Again, we apologize for the audio, the sound issues, but we do want to have 2 minutes for each candidate for a closing. And by luck of the draw, Mr. Keller gets to go first this time. So since you're not using a microphone, please shout. But here, give us your priorities, your platform, and why you deserve our vote come November 8th.
Well, my whole goal, like I've said kind of throughout the whole town hall meeting tonight, we got to open the doors. We got to open the lines of communication. We got to build that trust. We got to build that respect. We have to work together. We have to. We got too much finger pointing going on. Too much of this, he said, she said. Nobody wants to take accountability. You know, there's police chiefs across the country that are firing their officers without appropriate investigations into incidents and then resigning the next day. What does that say to the average citizen? Law enforcement must be a mess, in my mind. I don't know a lot of people I've talked to. There's a million people, millions of people out there that I know support law enforcement, but I know they have questions in the back of their mind as well. I hope to be that person that's going to be proactive, be out there talking to people. Give me what your concerns are. Give me your ideas. We'll talk about it. We can work together. I hope to create programs to do that. You know, I want to create a community again. Have that unity. We're slowly dividing and becoming. I don't know what we're becoming, but it's not good. So I hope to be that. Like I said, that proactive sheriff that is a sheriff of the people, for the people. I want the people involved with my daily decisions, if not daily, at least once a month, get together. Okay, this is what's going on. This is what we're dealing with. Can you help us? Getting people within society to help us hold people accountable. We got people all the time that are breaking the law. Nobody wants to turn them in. Nobody wants to hold them accountable. We all got to work together.
First, I'd like to thank whoever turned the air on, because it's a little warm up here. With that, with myself, 30 years in law enforcement, I'm still with the Sheriff's Office. Through ups and downs, things have happened there. It's been my passion to be there and to be a part of it, and to help lead things into the future. I've constantly pushed towards modernization, towards communication, and really working together within that building and with everybody on the outside. Some very good friends of mine lead outside agencies throughout our area and surrounding counties that I communicate with on a regular basis and I interact with. I get ideas from them, they get ideas from us. Together we make a difference, and every time we do, it helps the community and it helps justice and keeping public safety as a priority. The more we interact and the more we communicate, the better we will be. And that's just the way it is. And we've learned that. We always need to try to push ourselves to be better. And that's what I've done all along. I've worked my way up through the ranks. I've held 90% of the different jobs that are within there I've had a part of at some point in time, so I know how things are run. I know when things are going well, and I know when things aren't. And communication seems to always be a huge part when things aren't going well. Praising our people, telling them when they've done stuff right, and then talking to them when they haven't, and bringing it forward and making a difference together. That is what is going to help us go into the future. That building project I talked about is key. It's going to be helping our recruitment, it's going to be helping our retention, and it's going to be helping us solve crimes and keep the community safe and help our inmates do the right thing and become better citizens and not come back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Being elected sheriff is not a retirement gig for me. This isn't something I'm doing at the end of my career for the next 4 years and getting out. This is something that I want to see the end of my career, and I believe I'm in the prime of my career, where I want to do 1, 2, 3 terms to make sure that the things that I have in place for the sheriff's office I'm going to be able to achieve them. I can tell you right now, one of the biggest challenges in law enforcement in the entire country, and especially in Rock County, is we are losing 40% of staff in the next 5 to 7 years. That means in the next 5 to 7 years, we're going to have to replace 40% of the sheriff's office. Okay? We're not going to do that by raising their salaries. Okay? Unfortunately, we have to compete with Amazon, who a person can go work at Amazon and make the same amount as they do as a deputy right now. Okay? So how are we going to recruit half the staff, or almost half the staff, especially replacing the command staff that's going to go? We have to do that by building a culture that people want to come work at. Okay? An employee-focused culture where employees feel valued, they feel respected, and they feel supported. Okay? That is how we're going to recruit the best law enforcement officers to help serve the community. I always say law enforcement is a community service-based industry. If you go to a restaurant and the waiter doesn't like their job and doesn't feel valued or supported by their boss, how good a service are you going to get at that restaurant? Same thing as a deputy. If a deputy doesn't feel valued and doesn't feel valued or supported by their supervisor, when they make a traffic stop, what type of service are you going to get? Or when they come to your house to help you, what type of service are you going to get? We have to make sure that the sheriff's office employees are valued, supported, and we have an employee-focused culture. That way people, the good people, want to come and work at Rock County Sheriff's Office, and that's what my goal is. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we just want to thank you all for being here, taking time out of your day to answer some very important questions. I think, we got a little long road ahead, a little short for the primary candidates, but long road in general. And just as a reminder, for those of you that might have come in a little late, we have 2 Democratic candidates who will be on the ballot for the primary on August 9th. And if you vote on the Democratic ticket, then you can choose one of them. If you vote on the Republican ticket, there will be no sheriff on your ballot. And if you write in any one of the 3 names, people up here, you risk invalidating your ballot. So please, again, make sure that you are mindful of that. You can go to myvote.wi.gov to see your sample ballot. It will show you the differences between the Democratic primary ballot, the Republican primary ballot, the constitutional ballot, and the Libertarian ballot. So once again, please make sure you're mindful of that. I know that they would prefer that as well. And please give them a warm round of applause for answering the questions and being here tonight. Thank you all for attending tonight. This, I feel, was a very successful event. And once again, RCF is a nonprofit organization. 100% of everything we do is based off of what we receive from our donors. So if you enjoyed tonight's event and want to see more, we have a lot of great things planned over the coming months regarding our November elections, as well as educational opportunities for you in our upcoming meetings. We generally meet on the second Wednesday of the month through the summer months, and then on the second and fourth Wednesday of the month through the rest of the year. So we meet at Sidelines Bar and Grill in Janesville. If you're ever interested in attending, we would be more than happy to have you. We have several opportunities for, sorry, I'm going to throw this up. We have several opportunities for you to be involved to help with our Watchdog Committee, as well as candidate recruitment and training, and then just in general our recruitment and retaining. It's very important and imperative that we all stay involved and informed as we move forward, make decisions about our local government and who the people we elect to lead us. So again, I thank you so much for being here, and please don't forget to follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our e-updates and drop us a line if you have any questions. Thank you very much.